Today we have the legendary comedian with us. His name is Willie Macc, right? So you may have seen him on TikTok, you may have seen him on Instagram. He's a stand-up comedian. He has a very interesting story to tell. He's from the South, and he also has a very interesting relationship dynamic with his son's mother and his son. So I think you will thoroughly enjoy this one. He talks about how he ended up with Bernie Mac's last name and why that's a homage to him. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna enjoy this one. God bless you all. The Cash App is down there, but the subscription, that button's free. I love you.
I was a really young dad. Like, here's how young of a father I am. Like, I remember one time my son was maybe like 3 years old, and he runs into my room. It's like 3 a.m. He was like, Dad, there's a mouse in my room. There's a mouse in my room. And I remember getting mad at my son because I thought he was bringing the monster into my room. I was like, go to your room.
Hey, yeah. Do you wipe yourself after you pee?
No, Malcolm.
Ayo,
Yeah.
sometimes the tip of your stuff touch the water when you're like using the restroom.
To yours?
Yeah.
Would you ever date someone outside your race, or have you tried to?
Ayo,
Yeah.
why haven't you? Ayo,
Yeah.
you think? Ayo,
Yeah.
did you mean to have me?
What kind of question is that, Mal?
So I saw.
My son has beat off in every pair of socks in this damn house. His socks, my socks, socks that he's found. Like, my son's room is just filled with hard ass boomerang.
Welcome back to the. You look like you was caught. Welcome back to another episode of Important Miscellaneous Talks. I'm your host, Glassford Crossfield, and we are changing the world one podcast at a time. And today we have the world-renowned comedian here with us. Please introduce yourself.
What's up, y'all? My name's Willie Macc. That's Mac with 2 C's. And we out here. BET College Hill, HGTV, My Flipping Family, True TV. Out here slanging jokes. Been doing it a long time, bro.
Got you. So, what made you want to get into comedy?
So years ago, I did this show that everybody should know. If you don't know what this show is, you should just like play in traffic. But the Bernie Mac show. So I moved out here to California chasing a female. Her name was Keita. I never really didn't know much about the entertainment industry. I was going to school for international business. And eventually I wanted to go to Western University and I wanted to study law, but that was way too expensive. So that never ended up happening. And so while you out here, it's California, kind of like New York, it's very expensive. So you try to find little side hustles. So I did background on this show called the Bernie Mac show. And so while I was on there, I used to have this really big afro back in the day. And Kalita Smith, who played his wife, came up to me one of these days and she was like, "Where are you from? You look super country." And I was like, "Oh, I'm from St. Louis." And she's like, "Yeah, I could tell." And she's like, "Oh, my assistant's from St. Louis." So me and her assistant were talking. We found out we went to the same high school. And then I ended up meeting Bernie Mac. And Bernie Mac comes out. He's like, "Who's this melted milk judge y'all talking to?" And I'm like, "What?" And we made an intro. And I was like, whatever it is this dude does, I want to do. So still in need of money, still going to school out here in Los Angeles. I saw an ad on Craigslist for this dating show that never aired, but it was just a pilot. And for those that don't know what a pilot is, it's an idea that somebody has. So let's say I have an idea for a TV show. I pitch it to a network. A network likes the idea. They give me a budget to shoot one episode. The one episode is called a pilot. And from this pilot, they will take it to test markets. They will like try it out to different audiences, blah, 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 and see how it works. And so I did a pilot call for a show called So You Want to Date My Sister. It was a competition show where it was 3 guys trying to date this chick. So we had to meet her brothers. And they put challenges together for us. Like, one guy was a boxer, so he made us get in the ring with him and box. Another brother was like a chef, so he made us do some stuff in the kitchen. And another brother, blah, 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 blah. So I ended up winning, but it was all still for TV. So me being me, I'm just kind of goofy. I'm kind of funny. So they was like, Will, you're really funny, man. How about you get on the show that we're producing called College Hill? College Hill, it was on BT. For those that never seen it, it's pretty much the BT version of the Real World. Now, if you never seen Real World, you just super young, and congratulations. You ain't missing much. So after being on that show and being still this goofy comedic relief on there, I was the one that did most of the radio interviews. So I was the guy that was like, this is WXHZ Chicago. What's up, y'all? I'm Willie Macc. Make sure y'all tune in. And so I was doing all the interviews. And so people started asking me, like, you really funny on the show, man. You should tell us a joke. Tell us a joke, Willie. But I never had a joke. So I ended up doing comedy so I can write a joke for when people ask me, tell them a joke. And so that was how I started in it. And then I kept on going and going. And now here we are 14 years later.
Wow, you need to write a book.
One day.
So what do you think are some of the best ways for people to get into comedy today?
Go to your local open mic. Just most cities have an open mic, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's a actual open mic spot. Like we got offices here that actually just only do open mics there. And so where you can try out materials, a lot of young comedians there. Go to your local comedy club. Most comedy clubs have open mic night, and you just keep on writing. You keep on just perfecting your craft and all this other stuff. And then eventually, boom, 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 boom. You know, also with some fingers crossed, a little bit of luck, you will end up starting to travel. And eventually you will want to move to a New York. Eventually you want to move to a Los Angeles, Atlanta, maybe Chicago. But really, New York and LA are the two places that are like the big comedy hubs.
Got you. So what are some of the ways that you try to improve your stand-up?
Ways I try to improve my stand-up is I try to see different angles. Like sometimes, like let's say we talking about what's your favorite food? I talk about a steak. And now I like my steak medium rare. And this is why I like this steak, and this is how I eat this steak. But now you look at my steak and be like, oh, but have you ever tried this on your steak? And I'm like, no, actually, I never actually tried that on my steak. And so now I got your ideas, and now so you start to befriend people in the comedy community, and each person kind of gives you different angles. They give you different perspective. The way that I look at something is different than the way that this white chick might look at something, different than this Asian guy might look at it. So you start to get different perspectives and different ideas. So I'm very open to just collaborating and just listening to other people. But also, if I'm going to, and I also watch a lot of stand-up. I watch a lot. I try to see what's working. I see what people are interested in. And so that's kind of how I keep on perfecting it. And so I try to extend it. I try to figure out just different aspects of comedy and what can I do to surprise people? What can I do to make this funnier? It's always in the back of my mind.
So can you describe how you normally prepare for a set?
I have a set tonight. I kind of know what I want to do. So I perform. Some people are verbatim. Some people go in and they say the joke the same way every single time. I will go in and I go in with bullet points. So I'm like, I know I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about this. Like I might have 3 things that I want to talk about. Now, in which order, I also don't know. It depends on the crowd. So I'll go in there and I'll look at the audience. Are they laughing? What are they laughing at? Why are they laughing? Sometimes, is it a very PC audience? Are they a non-PC audience? How raw can I get? How safe should I be? So I'm looking at all this while the host is, who is somebody that I look like I could talk to in the audience? Okay, this couple over here look fun. They look like they having a good time. Okay, these people haven't laughed at all. So now I gotta maybe avoid them or pick on them for not laughing. And so I just keep on studying. And I'm like, all right, this would be a great place to say this joke because these people responded to that. Or I will just start off like, what y'all want to talk about? I got a couple topics And I kind of throw it out to the audience. The thing about stand-up really is about just having fun at the end of the day. Having fun, being authentic, and just being consistent, and don't let the silence bother you. Don't get too cocky where you're like, oh, I'm the funniest person in the world, which we all kind of think that especially once you get to a certain point. So yeah, that's kind of how I prepare for the most part.
Do you ever still get nervous going on stage?
I get nervous every time. I have the worst stage fright. But at first it used to bother me, but now I just understand that this is me. I'm gonna have stage fright, but I know that I'm funny. So I'll tell my stage fright, like, hey, you can come up on the stage with me, but you can't interrupt my set. Like, so it's kind of like that. And then, once you get that first laugh, it's kind of like you're there. You're in a different headspace. You're in a different mode. It's like you're in fight or flight mode. I decided to come up here. Yeah, I'm nervous. Yeah, I'm scared. Yeah, I got my stomach is turning, but this is what I choose to do. So let's do it.
Wow. Yeah, again, you need to write that book. So who are your top 5 comedians of all time?
My top 5 comedians of all time. Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, who else? But obviously Bernie Mac. And number 5, this is an interesting one. I either want to say Wanda Sykes or I just saw him perform Earthquake.
Interesting.
Earthquake is good. He's funny. He's raw. He paints a picture, which is something else a comedian has to do. Instead of saying, I saw this guy at the mall and keep going into your joke, say, I saw this guy at the mall, but then describe the guy. He was wearing glasses, he had a flannel shirt, he was missing a tooth. And then you can find jokes even in the way that you describe this person. He wore a Bape headband. It's like, who's still wearing Bape headbands these days? And so now people are still, now instead of just me talking about you, it's like now people are involved in the picture that has been painted for them.
No Cat Williams, Kevin Hart, Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy.
I love all of those, but I don't know if they're in my top 5 though. Like those are probably my top 10. And all those comedians are great, but the way that the style of my comedy has been molded was based off of those guys that are in my top 5.
Got you. Where would you want to take your career, or do you have aspirations to be larger?
Oh yeah, I definitely have aspirations to be larger. I want my own television series. I want the Willie Macc show to be a thing. I want it to be about my life. I want to be a millennial. I want my life to look like it's the millennial version of Bernie Mac. I want to sell out theaters. I love stand-up. Stand-up is like my happy place. Like even with some of my posts, I will write stage, sweet stage, instead of like home, sweet home, because the stage for me is like my home.
That's dope. Oh my, you're a comedian and a poet. Wow. Wow. So were your parents always supportive of your dreams?
Well, supportive. They were supportive of me, of the dreams, not right away. I mean, it's hard because a lot of people fail at it. You don't see, it's not a high success number in it. If someone told your kid, like, hey, the path that you're taking, 1 out of every 100 people that do this succeed, and the other 99 crash, burn, fail, and die. It's like, God, you don't want to tell your kid to go ahead and do it, but you support the kid, and the kids like, I'm doing this, and it's like, now they might not necessarily see it. They want you to have a plan B. They're like, well, at least get a job, or take some time off and focus on you and build yourself up and then get into it. But you know that you can't. There is no plan B. If you think about a plan B, then you kind of give yourself leniency on your plan A. If you don't
Yeah.
have nothing to fall back on, then you're focused a little bit more because there's nothing back there for you to fall back on. So stand up is my plan A. That's it. I was sleeping on. I was couch surfing for this. I have a degree. I could make a lot of money doing stuff outside of comedy and not in this industry at all, based off my degree and some of my other skill sets. But I rather do this. I'd rather make people laugh. I'd rather sit here and do podcasts and auditions and do that grind because one, that's my journey and that's what makes me happy. And even if I fail at least I know that I did something that was for me.
Wow, inspirational. So what, can you explain how you and your child's mother met?
So that's funny. No one's ever asked me that before. Me and my son mom met at Burger King. I was working at Burger King when I
How
was
old are you?
16.
Oh, 16.
Huh? Yeah, I was 16 years old at that time. And I was working at Burger King. I was working there, maybe I was like 5 months in before she started working there. And then one day, maybe like 2 months in, she's like, I like you. I'm gonna make you my boyfriend. Now, I never had a girlfriend. The first, I've only kissed one chick my entire life, and that was in 3rd grade off of a dare. And so she was my first everything. And so that's how we met. We met at Burger. We had a connection, and that led to having a kid. So yeah.
How far into the relationship did you guys have a kid?
Like within the first year.
First year?
Yeah. So like within, yeah, it was prom night. And yeah, my son was born in February, so I just did the math and I was like, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. I was like, oh, okay. So after prom, it was like May 25th. And so after doing all that math, I was like, oh, so prom night is when that happened.
Did you guys ever consider using protection, or that was just, you just didn't care at that age?
We did. We did use protection and condom bust. So, and I didn't know. And so, yeah,
Yikes.
that's that.
That's
So for all the guys out there listening, make sure you use a rubber that fits.
yeah, you probably
Lifestyles ain't for everybody.
Oh, it was a lifestyle?
I don't remember, but I know it wasn't.
It definitely makes a joke funnier that you think of a lifestyle for sure. So how do you guys make your unique parenting situation work?
The way we make our unique parenting situation work is by doing the opposite of what our parents did. I'm a preacher's kid. She was a preacher's kid. Ooh. And so
story right there.
We were fairly sheltered. And now, are we too lenient on our kid? Yeah. Like, does he get away with a lot of stuff that most kids can never do? Yeah. But we also understand that most kids are going to do something anyways. No matter how guarded they are, they're going to sneak out the house. They're going to try, they might try weed. They might end up doing all these things that you can sit there and protect them all these times far from. But if they're going to do it, we rather be involved in the process. We rather be like the one that they're able to come to and like, oh, here's what happened to me versus holding it in and just kind of like, how like, if like I get kids on my TikTok all the time, like, man, I wish I could have talked to my dad about this. I wish I could have told my parents about blah, 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 blah. And so we have a very open communication process with my son.
How did your parents react when they found out the news?
They was very supportive. I was scared they was gonna be pissed off at me. I was prepared to run away. I wrote a letter and everything, and I was gonna run away from home because I was scared. But they end up like, listen, this isn't the kid's fault. Malcolm's here, and they embraced him, open arms. Now they wasn't necessarily happy on how he got here and the situation because we were teenagers, and so it was a lot of work. It was a lot of responsibility. But my family, my parents, really helped out like enormous. So yeah, they was way supportive. They wasn't pissed like some people will have kids and they're like, well, this is your kid now, you go do this. No, they sacrificed as much as I did, if not more, to make this situation work out.
Do you find that your son is trying to take after you in comedy or in any sort of way? And how comfortable is he with you, putting the personal family business out there as a punchline?
He's I talk about a lot of the stuff with him up front. I'm like, hey, Malcolm, I'm gonna do these jokes. They're about you. They're either true or they're not true, but understand that this is what I'm doing because I understand that in the long run, this will pay off. The reason that you have your gaming system, the reason that you have this and you got this is because of these jokes, is because of these stories. And these stories not only are fun to listen to and people laugh and they're entertained by, but some people, this actually helps them. Some people are like, I'm a young parent and I don't know what to do. What can I do? And sometimes I give advice. Sometimes I just they just laugh or whatever. But these are stories that are so unique that there's a story behind it. There's a script behind it. There's a TV show behind everything that I'm saying that I'm doing. And so we had that communication. Now, sometimes it will upset him, sometimes it does bother him, and we'll talk about it a little bit. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. But he's very creative himself. He does music. Like my son goes by he has his artist name is Saturn with 2 T's, and so so he's all for it.
So have you found that he's trying to take after you in the comedic scene?
No, he humors me. Like we did like this little podcast thing together, but he's doing it for me. Now, does he really want to do it? Maybe, maybe not. But I was like, hey, Malcolm, I always told him, like, let me know if you don't want to do this anymore, or you feel like, Dad, come on. I'm like, let me know. And I'm gonna still do it because you don't pay rent here. So this is your rent by me making fun of you. This is how. We're a team, but he's funny. My son he definitely takes after me with my comedic sense, the way that I heighten jokes, and like if this is true as well. And he's very playful, very funny, but his focus is music, and I support his music. I'm like, hey, do I understand what he's saying in his music? Not all the time. But do I listen to it and jam out like it's the new Drake, Wayne, and Baby song with Lil Uzi Vert? Yeah. I'm like, oh, Mal, what? Get out of here, man. Like, yeah, Dad, you know what I was talking about? No. Like, but we here.
Well, what's a joke that you've always wanted to tell, but you're afraid of the backlash?
A joke I've always wanted to tell, but I'm afraid of the backlash. Yeah, I mean, every comedian has that, and it also depends on sensitivity. There's a joke that I used to do that I don't do anymore because people didn't like it. I was talking about how I saw an article that 357 men were sexually assaulted and raped by women in the year 2018, I believe. And I just thought it was so funny. I was like, 357 men didn't have to pay for dinner, didn't have to take a woman and listen to her a day, and just was like, get in this car and give me that penis. It's like,
that's really funny. And I'm pretty sure 357 is only the ones that were reported. I think
those
embarrassed.
It was thousands. It was tens of thousands. Only 357 dared call the cops on this situation. And the ending of that joke was like, if I was raped right here in front of my building, I'm not calling the cops. I'm calling all my homeboys up. I'm like, hey man, I don't know what you're doing right now, but but they raping outside my building. You should come on down.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Wow, they didn't like that?
Well, it's not that they didn't like it. People was like, hey, it's sensitive. No, rape ain't funny, So now you have to pick and choose which jokes you do, because I do a lot of commercials. So now if these jokes are considered too insensitive, now it's taking money out of my pocket. Now, so do I rather have the creative freedom and just be like this raw, one of those raw comics that like, I don't care what anybody says, I'm telling these jokes? Or do I want to open myself out to a broader audience to take certain jokes out and maybe wait for another year? Even if this fact is 2018, if I'm on stage, I can be like, did you know in the year 2025 that 357 men, like, so you can change the day. Nobody really looks up your facts while you're on stage. They just listening to the content. So I can save the jokes for later, or I just don't do it at all. Or I can sell that joke to somebody else who is more raunchy, that's like, hey man, hey, I'm like, hey, I got this joke that you might like. I'll sell it to you $300, $1,000, whatever. And you can do it that way as well.
Do you ever fear being canceled?
All the time. Every comedian fears to be canceled because we work really hard for this. It's a lot of years you don't get paid. It wasn't until last year that I was really getting money. Well, maybe like 3 years ago. 2019 was the first time I started getting paid, and I've been doing stand-up since 2009. So, and people are very sensitive. I'm even working on a bit about that. It's like movies, let's say this, for example, this rape joke. Somebody hears it, hey, he's talking about rape, insensitive, cancel. But you have people who write movies who are far darker and far worse, and they win Oscars. So why is me writing a joke worse than this person who wrote a script? Both of them are here for entertainment. Why am I getting more backlash? Like how Jay-Z, even in New York, got it to where got the law passed where district attorneys and like courts can't use rappers' lyrics against them in court. Because at the end of the day, this is entertainment. Why is it that, and he kind of came from the same angle, like, why is it that any of these other genres, you watch some of these TV shows, and you be like, my goodness, who wrote this? Now, that's dark. But they don't get backlash because now they are creative. They're just writing from this creative process. It's like, why do we not get this same love? So,
right. And my last question, if you could pick any comedian's career path, who would it be?
Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was able to do TV and movies successfully and still had a very successful stand-up career. He didn't really get in any trouble. He didn't really get, he probably did. It just was so long ago and he's gone now that nobody cared. Like at one point I would have said Bill Cosby. Before, like, if you take the rape and the sexual assault stuff that he did out, he had a fantastic career. He was one of the first Black people to have a sitcom. The Cosby Show. He was before all of this. He was worth $800 million. He was about to buy CBS. So, yeah, and he had everything going for him. So at one point it would have been Bill, but now I'm going like a Richard Pryor or Kevin, but mainly Richard Pryor.
I wonder though if social media was as prevalent when Richard Pryor was at his peak, how things might have been differently.
If social media was back in the 60s and 70s, there would be everybody be canceled. Like even when do you listen to Bernie Mac's jokes at all? Do you know Bernie Mac said where he was talking about milk and cookies? So if y'all never heard Bernie Mac, he has a very funny joke where he was talking about how he take care of his nieces. The Bernie Mac show was based off of this joke about milk and cookies, and he was calling the son all type of F words and like, yeah, he was like,
I know that joke. Was milk and cookies a metaphor for something else?
Nah, it wasn't a metaphor for something.
Okay.
But he was just the way that he was just dogging his gay nephew. And just like, you effed it. And like, what you mean? You don't get your F. upstairs. And I was like, my goodness, if he said that stuff now, the whole community of whatever would be like turned
For
up.
sure, for sure. You know Larry David, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, his show Curb the Enthusiasm. He dropped the N-word several times on that show. But it was at a time where social media wasn't as prevalent, so he doesn't get the backlash, really.
Yeah, I was even looking at old Law and Order episodes, and like Ice Cube was calling. He was like, they was like, "What's wrong with the victim?" I don't know. From his mom, I think he was retarded, and I was like, "God, you can get over here straight calling this dude a retard on TV?" My goodness. And they was like, they went at it. Like nowadays, they can't say half this stuff, but at one point, they could say whatever they wanted to. There's a SNL sketch with Richard Pryor, and I think it was Chevy Chase. SNL, Saturday Night Live, and Chevy Chase called Richard Pryor a nigga on TV, on prime time. It was written in for them to call him that, and so
The thing is, though, knowing Pryor, he probably approved it.
Oh yeah, he definitely approved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow, but absolutely, even if he did, even today, if Richard Pryor gave the okay, people would still be outraged about it.
They'll be because all it takes is to offend one person. Kind of way like we have paper straws. You know why we have paper straws?
For the environment.
Because that one turtle, you heard about that turtle that had that plastic straw up his nose?
I think I did hear something along those lines.
One turtle that they saw had a plastic straw up their nose, and they was like, look at this turtle and this plastic straw in their nose. Like, we need to start doing da-da-da-da-da. All because of that one. Like, all these other turtles was like,
turtles live for 1 million years. I gotta have my life be inconvenienced for this one turtle. You're gonna live forever?
Yeah.
Not fair.
I know, right? So, yeah, so that's kind of what it is, man.
I appreciate you daily for taking the time out to speak to me. I hope to see you. Oh, I can't talk about it, right? About the audition.
Oh, yeah. You can talk about it. I don't care.
I hope to see you in that Kevin Hart movie, and I hope I'll clip this when you're in it, and it'll go viral. That I supported you before you got that big movie production that you've always wanted. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Have a good one, boss.